Hello and welcome back to Division 1 Rejects. This is episode 4. We've made it this far, fellas. Once again, I'm joined today by Zach Keene. Zach, how's it going?
Pretty good. How are you?
And Connor Gashke making another appearance. Connor, good to have you back, bub.
Appreciate it.
All right, today on Division 1 Rejects, to start things off, we're going to have a guest on from Wayne State University who finished second in the GLIAC last year and had a hell of a year behind Coach Winters down there in Detroit. We're going to get into a potential new top dog in the NFL coming out of the NFC North. I know Zach is excited to talk about that. He's already got the hat on. After that, we're going to dive into some college football highlights and some postponed games 1 week away from the Big Ten coming back onto the college scene. That is going to be huge. As always, this podcast is recorded on YouTube, so if you're watching on YouTube, hello. But if not, tell your friends to find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Anchor.fm, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. So, fellas, to start this thing off, let's cut to that interview with Myren Harris from Wayne State. Our guest today on Division 1 Rejects is a 3-time All-State and 2-time Dream Team captain, state champion running back out of previously ranked #1 Chippewa Valley High School, where he rushed for 1,500 yards his senior year. Now heading to play in Detroit at the Wayne State University, we have Myren Harris. What's going on, Myren? How you doing, man?
Nothing much, man. Just living. Just living.
Hell yeah, dog. Now, what's your first impression of college football like and being able to practice with the guys down there in Detroit?
Me personally, I mean, it's a little different, but, nothing too different from high school, to be honest, especially from the high school that I came from. I feel like they prepared us real nice for the college life, so there's really not big of a jump or an adjustment, really, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, that's awesome. I had a chance to play you guys. I think it was, my sophomore year we played you guys, lost by like 3 points or something crazy like that. I didn't have too many snaps, but not sure if you're on the field. I didn't know of you at the time, but I know you guys have had a great program. Obviously won the state championship in 2018. I was there in the end zone recording it where Clarkston went for 2 and I missed that. I've never been happier in my entire life. What was that moment like for you?
That moment was so real. My twin brother was actually on defense at that time.
No way, that's awesome.
Yes, yeah. So it was kind of crazy. It was so real. Because growing up in Little League, we always made that championship but never won it. But me and my brother made a promise. It was like we're gonna get a high school state championship, and then that day we did. So it kind of felt so real.
Yeah, you talked about how your team really prepared you guys for the college level. Now, you specifically had offers from most of the GLIAC teams like Ferris, Grand Valley, even one from Northern Michigan where we're at. What was it about Wayne State that helped you make your decision? And your brother obviously was a big part in this recruiting process too, who's also going to Wayne to play with you. What were the conversations with him like, and why Wayne State?
Well, one, I just want to give all the glory and honor to God first.
Of course.
But, my twin played a big role. Like, our conversations were, of course, behind closed doors and very critical, but I mean, the decision wasn't a hard decision. Wayne State made us feel at home, and Wayne State gave us the, vibe that they wanted us here. And so far, that vibe that, they had when they recruited us is still the vibe that they have now that we even here. So Wayne State was just honestly just a gift and a blessing from God. So it wasn't really that much of a hard choice to make to come here. So
that's the best thing to hear, really, for me, and I think for anyone who's gone through that recruiting process and dealing with, multiple schools. And like you said, like Wayne State made you feel like they wanted you there. And that just, to me, that's awesome that you feel like you really belong there, because I know a lot of guys go through that same process and it's a lot more difficult for them. So do you think, having a brother go through that same process, do you guys think that helped, kind of lean on each other and bounce ideas off each other just to talk to each other about that process? I think that was, like you said, obviously it had a big role on where you ended up. You think that was a great indicator of getting you through that process?
I mean, most definitely. I mean, anytime you can go through something that pivotal and big in your life with somebody else, or just something in general, rather than by yourself, that's always a huge, huge, huge thing. That's why I say that I'm blessed to be a twin. As much as some days that I wake up and, might not like being a twin, but during that whole process, just having somebody there with you is very key and really big in that situation, especially something that pivotal in your life.
That's awesome, man. Now, obviously, you and Miles are heading up to Wayne State, but you had a total of 5 guys from your 2019 Chip Valley team all commit to Wayne State. Is this the start of a pipeline to Wayne State University from Chip Valley? And what was it that really started this movement? Was it one individual event, or was it really just you guys talking to each other and finding out that this was really the best spot for you all?
it all started with our quarterback, Joshua Coker. Pretty, he he was from Chicago to African. He committed, I think, early like February, if no, like December, like right after the season. And and me and him, other than my twin brother, he was considered my best friend. And he would come over my house and tell me, like, it's definitely in my spirit that y'all are coming to win. Like, you guys are to win. And I'm like, bro, no, there's no way, you know what I'm saying? Because based on how the season was going, I'm thinking, I'm going somewhere. Me and my brother are going for a bid, like at least in the MAC or 8. We like, so I'm about to check. He's like, bro, I'm telling you, you guys are coming on. You guys are coming on. So after he committed, like gave him a little boost in our eyes, and then we had a meeting with our family, and Coach Winters and Coach Wooster. When Coach Wooster was here, all respect to him.
Yeah.
When he was at Wayne, he did a great job selling Wayne, and he asked my twin brother at the end of the thing. He was like, "How do you feel so far?" And our goal was not to commit with Wayne, like instead of Wayne. And my brother was like, "I can see myself here for the next 3, 4, 5 years." I'm like, dang. But I mean, like, like it wasn't like a bad decision.
Yeah, he just made that decision.
I'm like, we didn't even talk about it, but I was like, well, I guess I'm coming too. So then after that, I called up our lineman because the lineman, like, we were really close. I mean, Kobe, you know how it is, that running back to the lineman.
Of course, bro, of course.
So we had made up our mind because most of our offers were the same too. And I was like, if it's up to me, I'll run behind you, staying for the rest of my life until I make it to the league.
I love that.
And I called him, and he was like, you committed? I was like, I just committed, bro. I was like, and I'm gonna lie, it feels good. A couple of days later, he was about to commit to Ferris.
Really?
And then out of nowhere, he flipped it, commit to Wayne. And then last but not least, our cornerback, Carter Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention all these dudes are studs, by the way, because we all were the team captains of the
hell yeah
of our team. And so after we committed, he seen how happy we were. They wanted him too, and it was like, let's make it all a package deal. And then boom, all 5 of us committed.
I love that, dude. That story is awesome. Just your brother right there committing on the spot, kind of going just off of the plans and off of whatever. And then, you know what? We're a package deal. Let's do it. Let's commit to this right now. I think that's an awesome story that you're going to be telling for a while. And having that relationship, obviously, with those guys in your team, the fact that you're all captains, that's really something that you don't hear of too often. And I love that you guys were able to do that. But you talked about how your quarterback was the first of you guys to commit, Colca, and Chip Valley has seen some really great quarterbacks come out of that school. The last 5 starting quarterbacks received scholarships to play football at the next level, whether that be NAIA, Division II, Division I. And you obviously got to play with Tommy Schuster, who led that 2018 team, to the state championships. He's now at the University of North Dakota. And more recently, we just talked about Josh Colca, who's joining you at Wayne State. How important is it to have those guys on your team, leading your team? And like you said, those relationships you have with those guys, how important are those when really trying to lead a team to something great like a state championship?
Well, having 2 great quarterbacks, coming to your life like that, one, I've never seen anything like them before in my life, honestly. But that kind of just preps you for the next level because, like I said, Chip, prepared us and, for college, and our practices and everything, even our game days were ran like a D1 college. So the fact that, I have 2 great quarterbacks, one quarterback that's sticking with me for half my life, really, for the next 4 to 5 years, you know what I'm saying? That's real big and pivotal. But having guys like that, be next to me, get to play at the next level with is pretty huge, So which makes that jump even easier because now I have somebody on offense with me. Not only just my brother coming in who's a defensive specialist, but you come in with somebody that's right next to you, he's a quarterback, so it makes you even more comfortable because you already got that connected.
Yeah, for sure. So Miles is playing defense then over at Wayne State. I know he played pretty much everything for you guys, slot, returner, defensive specialist, like you said. So he's going to be focused primarily on defensive side.
Yeah, man, you talk about the jack of all trades, man.
Seriously.
He pretty much did everything. Yeah, Miles is a free and strong safety.
Awesome.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm not really the best at to talk about the defensive position. But I know
that's all right, man. That ain't your job.
Yeah, I know he's a safety. I know he can play anywhere in the secondary.
Totally. You guys in Wayne, obviously, you're just now getting there, but you're coming into a program that has been established now and really had a great year last year. You finished second in the GLIAC behind Ferris State in a season where Wayne State really started slow. They lost their first 2 games, but both of them were out of conference, as I'm sure you know. But the Warriors were dominating conference games and winning big ones. They beat Grand Valley and had a double overtime win against Ashland at home. But the thing that I wanted to touch on specifically for you is that they graduate 3 running backs after the 2019 season. So what does that running back room look like at Wayne State, and how have you enjoyed it so far with those guys?
Well, just touch on first when you talked about, Wayne State being such a good team. Wayne State, kind of reminds me of Chippewa when we came in our freshman year. Our freshman year, Chippewa was not, like they were on the come up, you know what I mean? Like they had just started having winning seasons.
Yeah, I got you.
Like Wayne is on that. Yeah, Wayne is on that same, come up or whatever. So just the fact that, we get to come in is nothing different than coming in, to high school. And, especially even though, in 2018, you can pretty much look at our roster and everybody that started went D1. So,
yeah.
But the running back room, man, it's still competitive. It's still competitive, man.
Yeah, that's good to hear, bro. Where do you see yourself fitting in there? And obviously, I'm sure you want to get out there and play, but to red shirts and COVID and everything going on, have you really started to fit yourself in there and found your role in that running back room?
I came in with the mentality of just being myself. You know what I'm saying?
Of course,
being like one person. And to come in and just learn from the older guys. So I could say the way I see myself in the running back room, I think I fit pretty well. I think I'm one of the missing pieces for sure, as far as adding like family and all that stuff. But
yeah, and skill set wise, just you fill some gaps for them, skill set wise, and being able to bring some things that you offer that maybe they didn't have in the past. I think that's huge. Just knowing your role and being that guy, like you said, taking stuff from the older guys. I know I'm in, a very similar situation. Obviously Northern's team did not do nearly as well last year. But I think our running back room is really one of the bright spots of our team right now. And we've got some great competition in that room. So for me, and I'm sure for you, sorry, what were you saying?
Man, sorry to cut you off, but when I was getting recruited by Northern, you were on top of the conversation and they were leaning on you a lot. And they were like, we get both of you, man. You guys can be a great addition to our running back group.
Man. They ain't tell me that. They ain't tell me that, man. I would have liked to hear that. Damn. Hey, even though we don't get to play with each other, I'm sure I'll be seeing you for the next couple of years, my guy.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. And I know we touched on it a little bit earlier. You talked about Coach Wooster, who is the same one who I got to communicate with and who I went through that recruiting process with, who now is at Grand Valley. And, I had a great first impression of Coach Wooster, and I really enjoyed some of our conversations that we had. What was your relationship with him as a recruiter? And does this really kind of, just kind of ground you in the fact that college football really is a business, right? So how do you feel about that?
I just want to say that Coach Wooster is a great dude, man.
Yeah.
Great dude. Still has a great relationship with Coach Wooster. Of course it hurt, when he left, not even being down here yet and not really, doing like the full expense of him being the coach. Just the fact that, that we built that relationship so fast and established a solid foundation, So it kind of hurt that he left. But Coach Wooster is and was a great dude, and that man has a bright future ahead of him. But he played an intricate role in us coming to Wayne as well. He was one of the main reasons why we felt, that we took the way here.
Yeah, of course. Last one for you, my man. A little less serious one right now, but who you riding with in the NFL? Who's been your team to follow? Are you a Lions fan or somewhere out of state?
Well,
that's a no. That's a no.
Yeah, I'm not really much too big of a Lions fan.
Man.
But I'm not, to be honest, I just like great football, man. So
all right.
I turn on TV and somebody is playing, as long as it's a good game, I'm entertained. So, I'm not a hop on a bandwagon type of dude. I just like to see good football, man.
I can dig that, brother. I like that. So, yeah, that's really all I got for you today, man. I really appreciate you coming on, sharing a little bit of time. And, man, I wish I would have heard about that little duo that they were kind of dreaming up here in Marquette of me and you coming up to play running back. But even though, like I said, even though I don't get to play with you, man, I'd love to. And I've seen you do some great things. I know you're going to do great things at this level too. And I can't wait to keep competing against you, my man.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Man, it's crazy because like I grew up playing basketball in the Lake Cortland area.
Did you really?
Jack Cummins.
Yeah.
Jack
Oh yeah.
Cummins. Yeah, and I played for Wolfpack in Oakland Elite. That was branched out of Lake Orion and Clarkston area.
Hell yeah,
So,
I was with Oakland Elite.
Like,
yeah.
So you were in our familiar name because it was kind of funny because when you started reaching out to me on Twitter like right after the season,
yep,
that's when Northern like began to talk to me more, and then that's when they started talking about it. Then I guess they started like recruiting like harder around that time because you were killing it, bro.
I appreciate that, brother. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy what you can do just reaching out to people, make some great connections, and I'm sure I'll be talking to you soon, my man. But thank you so much, and I'll talk to you soon.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
All right,
Thanks
see you, boss.
Of
course, man. Have a good one. All right, it was great to have Myren on, and obviously I never heard about some of that stuff about Northern recruiting him. It would have been great to have him up here, but competing against him in the next couple of years is going to be huge, and I think he's going to do some great things at the next level. So super excited to have him on. I'm sure we'll have him on sometime in the future, and that's going to be a key part of that Wayne State offense and that running back room. But let's kind of transition now more into the NFL. And Zach, you've already got your hat on. I know you're ready to talk about this. The Packers come in at #1 on the NFL Week 6 power rankings. And Aaron Rodgers right now, that's really the storyline right now is Aaron Rodgers and his play that he has elevated so much. And I think his mindset has changed. And I know that you think it's just, Aaron Rodgers as usual. But to me, it seems like he just looks, relaxed more so on the field. And he's really feeling it this year for whatever reason.
I think in the words of LL Cool J, don't call it a comeback. I've been here for years. So anyways, he's always been the same dude. I think it's just Green Bay's been building around him for a little bit. And it's so minute because obviously with the draft, I get depression talking about it.
Jordan Love. In a moment of silence for Jordan Love, who's enjoying his view from the bench this year and will be presumably for the next couple of years.
Green Bay Packers quarterback.
He better be. Holy shit, dude, I'm gonna be pissed. Anyways, no shots against him because he had no,
Yeah, he has no control
over that. But the Packers organization, piss off. Anyways, why wouldn't you take a freaking wide receiver?
Yeah,
why?
Yeah,
why?
And I know you were telling me earlier,
or a linebacker.
About the stats from
one of the two
his wide receivers that he's thrown to.
Yes, so 1 touchdown thrown to a first-round draft pick. So
it's astounding.
That's honestly insane for a quarterback of his level. I mean, obviously, I don't think there's no debate about Devontae Adams not being a great receiver.
Yeah, and then you've got other guys like Scalding, Valdez and Lazard and other guys.
He's had great receivers through the years, but you can tell like the team hasn't necessarily tried to put all in.
Yeah, they really haven't invested
in him weapons and that kind of thing.
There's no perennial Pro Bowler that's lining up outside of the slot or wide receiver position that is like. Like a team doesn't come into the week saying, "Oh, we got to lock down this guy." Like it's an Aaron Rodgers. He controls the flow
right
of that
now.
offense.
Yeah. I mean, Devontae Adams obviously was the guy that
he would
has
put
been 5 people on.
He has been in the past.
Honestly, I mean, last year we had Jimmy Graham. But I think our little tight end buddy now, Tunyon, he's making a name for himself, and he's really underrated. Same with Lazard, out with a core injury for probably the rest of the year. He needed surgery, but Aaron Rodgers playing out of his mind at Green Bay. This is just what he's been about his entire career. His longevity's been insane with the Packers.
For sure.
I hope he retires with the Packers. That would be my dream. And obviously have Jordan Love develop, because if not, I will be livid. So. Anyways, I think Aaron Rodgers and the Packers this is their year to go to the Super Bowl.
This is it, huh? After falling short
this
in
is
the NFC
it. I think honestly,
Championship?
That was a good year too.
Yeah, last
but
year.
they needed some help on defense, and I think that's what they had this year. With Kenny Clark, Zadarius Smith. I think they should have done a little bit more at the linebacker core. I think we probably have one of the worst ranked in the NFL, to be honest. But secondary's looking good. Once we get Kenny Clark back, that'll be good. Who else is out? Rashawn Gary's out, but honestly, I think if our whole team is healthy, there's no way we're not losing to anybody.
It'll be obviously not world beaters down in Tampa Bay, but they're at Tampa Bay to play against the Buccaneers this weekend, so I think will be a good that'll be a good measuring stick for them to see if that's a game they definitely should win. So how they do that, in what fashion, that will be very interesting to see. But another team I wanted to talk about were the Cleveland Browns. And I know we talked about them in the first episode, talking about how Baker really, this was his prove-it year and how he needed to step up to be that franchise quarterback, to be the guy for this Cleveland organization. And they come in at 6th in the power rankings, which is the highest they've been as far as I can remember, seriously, in my lifetime. Yeah. And they're on a 4-game winning streak right now. 38 points per game is what they're averaging, while simultaneously leading the league in rushing behind Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. This offense has looked awesome, but this week is going to be their biggest test. They're playing against the Pittsburgh Steelers, who have the best defense in the league right now, obviously with leadership at every facet of that defense, with Cameron Hayward in the interior defensive line, TJ Watt coming off the outside as an outside linebacker, Minkah Fitzpatrick in the safety position, really reading quarterbacks. And that defense is one that I don't think has any glaring faults or something that an offense can really go and attack. Now, they're obviously going to have to change their scheme a little bit, but what do we expect here? And have the Browns, have the Browns already proven themselves? I believe they have, but I think this would just be kind of icing on the cake at this point.
Well, I think that, of course, since we've been alive forever, the Browns, they haven't been the best team.
Stunk.
Of course. Not been the best team.
They sucked.
Shit.
Yeah. They're terrible.
Very bad. Yes, very bad football team. But I can't really talk because I'm a Lions fan.
Yeah.
Anyways.
The Lions
worst franchise in NFL history.
All right. We'll leave that.
Yeah.
For a later conversation.
Anyways, so, you go from, when was it, like 4 years ago they went 0-16 or whatever?
Somewhere around there. Yeah, it's recent memory, last decade.
Deshaun Kaiser.
And you go from that and, they've been the laughing stock of football, like, oh, the Browns, blah, blah, blah. You don't really hear anything good about them. They get Baker. Okay, that's a good start. Yeah. And then next thing you know, they bring in Odell, Jarvis Landry, Kareem Hunt, Myles Garrett, and
household names on a franchise that just years prior would have no business having these guys in their roster.
And then you just see them start making their way up on the charts, and you're like, oh, maybe this team's actually somewhat good. Mm-hmm. But, a lot of people could be saying, oh, it's just luck. They're 4-game winning streak, blah. But this next game against Pittsburgh, if they can pull off this win, they have to earn everyone's respect.
Yeah, I think so. Now, the Pittsburgh Steelers have not played any teams, to my knowledge, above 500. So it's been, I don't want to say an easy road for them, but when you beat teams that you're supposed to beat, that's a trait of a good football team at whatever level you're at. You got to beat teams that you're supposed to beat. They're letting up only 64 yards per game on the ground, and they're averaging 5 sacks through 4 games, which those numbers are something that goes with a defense that is full of guys with unreal talent. And I think that if the Browns pull off, I guess you could call it an upset, considering the rankings and where they're placed and the records right now. If they pull off this quote-unquote upset, for me, the Browns are back. You know what I mean? And I think they're back in a big way. But another guy I want to talk about was Myles Garrett, who is having a pretty solid year this year. Already has 6 sacks in the season. But that's not what I wanted to talk about Myles Garrett. What I want to talk about is that this is the first time playing Pittsburgh since the Mason Rudolph incident, where he took off his helmet and whacked him in the head with his own helmet on national television.
Attempted murder.
He got fined over $45,000, but that's chump change. That's nothing to a guy who makes that salary, although he was suspended the rest of the season. That's the longest suspension ever handed out for a single in-game incident. I'm honestly surprised they didn't handcuff him on the field. But what is this game going to be like for Myles Garrett?
I don't really know.
I don't think anyone does. I don't think anyone does. And there hasn't been a lot of storylines.
He hasn't really come out and really talked about it, a whole bunch.
And that's probably the best thing for him to do, is just
he needs to ignore it, obviously, and then just play his game. That's all he has.
Controlling his emotions. I think after that suspension, he's done some growing up. He's done some maturing, which for a guy in my shoes to say that about a guy like Myles Garrett, I don't know how I can do that. But just from an outsider's perspective looking in, I think that he did need to do some growing up, and his emotions showed on that field. Nobody should ever, do that to somebody else, no matter what. He did say that Mason Rudolph directed a racial slur at him, in which case, the NFL did an investigation. They conducted an investigation and found no evidence of that. So for me, that'd be very difficult to find who says what. There's so much going on. If nobody was mic'd up, then there's pretty much no way for you to figure that out. But that's going to be an interesting game. He's got to keep his emotions in check and just play his game. I think he's going to be a huge part of that Cleveland win, because our offense, I think, is going to get it done for the most part. Yeah. We'll see how that defense pans out.
I'm taking the Browns.
You're taking the Browns?
I'm taking the Browns. How about you?
It's bold. I like it.
I don't think it's really that bold. Who have they beat? They've beaten the Giants, Broncos, Steelers.
That's what I'm
Eagles.
saying. That's what I'm saying.
Honestly, they haven't exactly run the gauntlet. I think
I'm taking the Browns too.
I'll go Browns. I used to live in Cleveland.
It's a clean sweep.
I give it the Browns.
Look
I'll
at
take-
that.
I'll
We all
take the
agreed.
because
I like Baker.
I just
like
don't
Baker. I want him to do well.
As great of a defense this is, I think it's going to be a great test for this defense. And I think, honestly, and I might catch a little flack for this, I'm still not a believer in Big Ben and that he's back 100% and that he's ready to lead
definitely
this
not
team.
at his prime.
No.
As long
He's
as
past
Myles Garrett
that.
doesn't try and
He's
kill him.
past that. And I was a big,
Die.
What if that happened?
What if that happened? Okay, Myles Garrett would be arrested. Like,
He
he'd
better
have
be.
to be. He'd have to be.
But Roethlisberger right now is QB1, and they're riding with him. And obviously, he still has so much. He's got some left in the tank, and he's producing, but he's not producing enough where they're still relying on their defense in some aspects. And that happened last year, and they almost made the playoffs, going through quarterbacks like Mason Rudolph and Duck Hodges, and they really almost made it to the playoffs riding on the coattails of their defense.
Their defense is insane. But yeah,
It'll be a really good test for them. But
exactly.
let's talk a little bit about the Chiefs, who were the previous #1 in the power rankings before the Packers overtook them.
Yeah.
And that is because of their loss to the LA Raiders, 40-32. Derek Carr coming out a week before and saying pretty much, I'm sick and tired of losing. This is it. I can't do it anymore. And what does he do? He comes out, elevates his play, 350 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. And this is the first time, I think, at least this year, that we've seen somebody outplay Patrick Mahomes at his own game playing the football. And that's huge because Patrick Mahomes controls the pace of pretty much every field that he's on. And for somebody, he put up the very similar stats to Derek Carr, so I don't want to act like Derek Carr totally outshined him. But just for someone to go blow for blow with Patrick Mahomes like that and show that this Chiefs team is not untouchable, most definitely not untouchable. They just put up 40 points against this team, that their defense is supposed to be, a pretty solid point of this team. What was our biggest takeaways from that? I did not get to watch the game. I was at a wedding, but I know you guys get to watch some of it.
What about you?
I got to watch a little bit of the game, and it was a shootout.
Yeah, it was.
It was. You got to see 2 great quarterbacks, especially Mahomes. Everyone. They turned the game.
Well, he threw out the great word. I think Carr's great quarterback.
Well, he showed it.
I mean, game.
He showed he's a great
Yeah.
quarterback in that game. I would throughout his whole season. That's he hasn't really showed it, but
To be talked about, yeah.
Yeah, but through that game, he showed he can.
I'll agree with that.
He can hang with these guys. He can be a great quarterback when he needs to be. When he can be. And that's just something we love to see in football. We love to see the classic, quarterbacks going back to back. And when you have Mahomes, it's just all eyes are on him.
Yeah.
You have Mahomes in a game, it's Mahomes, and that's what all you'll see on social media. Just Mahomes,
All eyes on at all times.
And it's fun to watch. And we like games like that where it's a shootout, and it was quite enjoyable.
Mahomes did throw 1 interception, and it came from Jeff Heath. Now, many of you probably do not recognize that name, but I do, because Jeff Heath graduated from Lake Orion High School, my alma mater, down in Lake Orion, Michigan, Oakland County area. He then went to play at Saginaw Valley State University. That was the only offer to go play football in college that he got, where he recorded in his career 200 tackles, 16 tackles for loss, 7 interceptions, 4 forced fumbles, and 4 fumble recoveries for the Cardinals. He still went undrafted in the draft, although he had some great numbers at his pro day in the GLIAC. That did not stop him, however. He got but signed as an undrafted free agent by the Dallas Cowboys, where he played for about 6 or 7 years. This is his first year in Oakland, and he picks off Patrick Mahomes and actually got tackled by Mahomes at the 2-yard line. He should have just put that sucker in, but that was awesome for me. I didn't get to watch it, like I said, because of the wedding, but Jeff, if you're listening, shout out to you. I love watching you play, my man. Jeff Heath was not the only GLIAC performer in this last NFL week. I wanted to highlight this because there were some top performers from the GLIAC, which we don't get to see every week. It's not like you're the Big Ten or the SEC where you have numerous guys across all the teams that are putting up big numbers. But this week we had a couple guys who did some great things. So Ferris State grad Zach Sealer, drafted by the Baltimore Ravens in 2018. He's now on the Dolphins. He got his chance this week after the starting defensive end for Miami, Shaq Lawson, was out with a shoulder injury, and I think he made the most of it. He recorded his first sack, had a couple tackles in that game, now sits with 10 tackles on the year, and he's going to be playing a bigger role for that Miami team because of Lawson's injury. Another guy, we're staying with the Dolphins here, tight end Adam Shaheen out of Ashland, caught the 4th touchdown of his career on Sunday. He was drafted by the Bears, obviously now with the Dolphins, but I think that's so sweet to see guys that were once in our situation playing at the GLIAC level and playing against all of these teams that are in our conference to now be at that next level playing in the NFL. And what does that show for guys in our league besides the fact that, you can do it, you can get there?
It's just it's what everyone dreams of.
Yeah.
You go to play college football, you want to go to the next level, and it's just awesome to see guys in our similar situation, GLIAC, and now seeing them perform highly at in the NFL. It's just it's really awesome to see, and it's exciting, and it's like a dream come true for everyone. And we want to play at the next level, and just seeing guys do that, gives us a chance, and it's awesome to see that. And who knows?
Talk about the rest of college football here, and I think the one thing we found out in the last week of college football is that COVID does not discriminate. It affects primetime games just like it affects the garbage games. And the one game that I'm talking about are the Florida Gators. I guess the one team I'm talking about are the Florida Gators, who reported 21 positive COVID cases among their players, and their game against LSU, slated for Saturday, has been indefinitely postponed. Now, the SEC has obviously made some protections and some guidelines in case something like this happened, and they called it their Return to Activity and Medical Guidance Task Force. That is a freaking mouthful. But basically, they require that a program must have at least 53 scholarship players available in order to continue to play the game that was scheduled, to which Florida right now currently has less than 50, according to their roster and other things when you account for injuries and contract tracing of COVID, and the guys that have to quarantine and isolate that were in close contact or proximity with those that came down with positive tests. The Gators shut down the program on Tuesday and postponed the game yesterday, actually, as more positive cases came to be. But what do you do as a program like Florida besides obviously ride it out? I don't know if there's really anything you can do besides just take it on the side, like turn the other cheek and just really ride out these 2 weeks and hold your stuff together.
Well, let's just notice that Florida, of course, their mayor allowed everyone going back to normal.
True.
Yeah. Everyone can go to the games, and we were talking about it this week, and we were just like, I don't know if that's the best idea.
Very loose restrictions.
We'll see what happens. And now you look the team 21 positive cases, and it's only going to go up.
It makes you wonder if that's directly correlated with some of the decisions that are going on right now in Florida, whether or not those decisions made by a governor or someone in that position of power that's making those mandates and those guidelines, if that's going to have a direct effect on the football team. Obviously, a college kid's going to be on campus 90% of the time, but what about that other 10% of the time when they go off campus and they're doing other things?
They're college students. They're going to be going out. They're not going to be bunkered in. They're going to be going out, and now with all these
that's the hard thing. Yeah, to keep track of them when they're off campus, rather, as opposed to, in the program, on the field, whatever. It's very easy to oversee them and make sure they're following all the mask guidelines, keeping their masks up, socially distancing. But in a state like Florida, where there are obviously so many distractions, or I guess places of entertainment, I guess depending on your perspective, it's going to be hard to keep college students from going out and trying to have a little bit of fun sometimes. Another guy that came down with COVID, this is a big one. Nick Saban, the head coach of Alabama, has officially contracted the virus as of Wednesday afternoon, after which he immediately left the facility and informed players on a Zoom call. So not only Nick Saban, I didn't write this down, but the not the offensive coordinator, the athletic director from Alabama also came down with COVID. So I wonder if that's the same, one of them contracted it from the other, if they were in close proximity to one another. But that's something that is obviously going to affect how they practice and they prepare for this game this week, which is a huge one. They face off against number 3 Georgia at home. Coach Saban is currently coaching over Zoom or coaching over the internet. I'm not sure exactly how he's doing it, but he is coaching in some capacity from home. What do you think that's like for a guy who really is a lifer in football at this point, just being away from practice, especially in a week like this where they have one of their biggest opponents ever?
Honestly, Bama, I think they're going to be fine. I think they'll be fine. But obviously, a tough team from Georgia coming in at number 3.
Yeah.
Those are 2 top teams going head to head. It's going to be huge for Bama not having their head coach, obviously. I feel like that would be the same vice versa if it was Kirby Smart.
Of course, anyone, yeah.
But however they're trying to coach, it's definitely not going to be the same whether they have him on a freaking robot with a iPad.
Just rolling around the sideline.
Yeah, honestly, that's the way I'm picturing it.
That would be
probably
hilarious.
not. But anyways, it's going to be a huge hit for them. In their efforts to try and are they at home or are they away this week?
That is a good question. They're at home actually playing against Georgia.
Okay, so they got Georgia coming in their house, and if they're going to be trying to look forward to taking them down, staying at their number 2 spot, and maybe knocking Georgia down a few notches, they're definitely going to want to, have some focus practices, make sure they're not, getting off topic of what Saban would want.
Exactly.
I'm sure they're probably going to do that, but definitely Saban's one of those guys that you definitely want and on that field, coaching your guys around because he's just such a big impact with his presence, if anything.
Yeah, Saban did say that coaching from this perspective, from this online perspective and not physically being there has actually given him some new perspectives as coaching, because he's able to see from cameras up elevated positions and different areas. He's not there on the ground level. While I'm sure he'd much rather prefer to be there, it has given him some different perspectives, and I'm sure it's kind of altered the way in which he's coached because he's never had to do this before. Now, in his absence, the Crimson Tide, are not left with some slouch at the interim head coach position. They have their offensive coordinator, Steve Sarkisian, who will oversee the preparations for Saturday. And this is not his first rodeo. He's been a head coach at Washington, where he held the position from 2009 to 2013, also at USC in the 2014-2015 season. I think that's important to have a guy from your staff, not bring in some outsider, which is, I think, the obvious decision for any program to do that. But that's huge for an offensive-minded guy to be the head of the program for this week at least, and maybe possibly next week because of that 14-day COVID protocol. So it'll be interesting to see without Saban if anything's really different about this Alabama team, but they've been really dominant. Is a 20-minute record time, and I can't figure out how to fix it. I got to figure out how to do this better because the recording sucks. We'll finish in 4 minutes so we can go get food.
Oh, good. Najee Harris.
Yeah.
Heisman.
Possibly. Got it? Hello. So this Alabama team has really been predicated on their offensive power throughout the year. A couple names that I put down here. I got 4 guys that really showed out, have been showing out actually throughout this whole season. But really against their game, Ole Miss, it was a shootout. It really was an offensive shootout, which we don't see from Alabama very often. They have a stout defense. Typically, Alabama is known for that. But this was the first time that I've seen Alabama in a shootout. It looked like a Big 12 game. It looked like a Big 12 game because it was quarterback versus quarterback. Wide receiver core had a huge emphasis. But the run game from Alabama was what separated them from Ole Miss behind Najee Harris, who had 23 carries and a career-high 206 yards and 5 touchdowns. He set some records in that. I don't know what exactly because they have a record for every single stat these days, and it's absolutely ridiculous. But he set some records with that performance. The QB, Mac Jones, redshirt junior, 28 for 32, 417 yards, 2 touchdowns. They had 2 wide receivers with over 100 yards on the day in Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle. And really to have those names and be that consistent across the board, I think that's huge for Alabama. That's huge for Sarkisian, who's going to be at the head. And that offense is going to be the one, if they can pull out this win at home, which you have to think, at home is not as much of an advantage as it has been in the past, especially for a team like Alabama.
I don't know what the restrictions are on for, Alabama, but I remember watching, Florida, and it seemed like most of, the southern states almost. It seemed like they had a lot
It's a little bit more lax.
Yeah, a lot more people there. So I got a feeling in Tuscaloosa, it's going to be pretty much the same. Still a lot of crowd noise and everything, if that is the case where they are having.
Yeah.
I don't know. Even 50% is still going to be, a huge deal for them at home. But
definitely, that'd be insane. Yeah.
Definitely their offense is going to need to step up. I don't know how consistent Georgia's offense has been, but I know their defense is still doing pretty good. So their thing that's going to set them apart is if their offense is able to execute and play at the top of their game while their defense stepping up, most notably from last week. Yeah. Stepping up to the plate and making sure that they keep these Georgia Bulldogs, to certain score.
I think if the Alabama defense can stay off the field, then that means key turnovers, fumbles, interceptions, just loss of downs, whatever. If they can keep that Georgia offense off the field and keep their offense on the field when they're dominating, I think that's what Alabama wants to do, especially right now where you have an offensive-minded guy leading your team. If you can have your offense out there for a large majority of the game, taking up a lot of that clock time and just eating the time of possession,
that's just a win.
That really is a win, and that's something that you might see a little bit of a change in their game plan, maybe specific run plays or certain concepts that are really going to draw the clock out and really make these drives that could have been 4 or 5 minute drives down the field. Maybe that expands them to a 6 or a 7 minute drive. Exactly. If you can eat up half a quarter on one drive and end up scoring a touchdown at the end of that and keeping that Georgia offense off the field, I think that's best case scenario for a team like Alabama.
It's ideal. 2
other games that I'm excited to watch are Pitt at number 3 Miami. Pat Narduzzi and Pitt.
13.
They are looking solid on the season, but they've had a couple key losses. I think Miami coming off that loss to Clemson, that absolute rout from Clemson, that will be kind of a bounce back game for them. The last game I was looking at though is number 15 Auburn at South Carolina. Now Auburn looks great. Per usual, they're a perennial powerhouse right now in college football. They have been ever since I think that kickoff return against Alabama in the Iron Bowl. They've been in playoff contention. But South Carolina at home is a dangerous team. They're an underranked team, underrated, excuse me.
They're just a dark horse.
They really are, and they always have been. I don't think they've been able to take that step in recent years, but maybe now is the time. I guess we'll figure out this weekend on Saturday with college football happening. But that is it for episode 4 of Division I Rejects. I want to thank you so much for watching, listening, whatever you're doing. I really appreciate it. Taking the time out of your day. There's a lot of stuff you can listen to, but you're listening to us for some reason. I appreciate it. Be a friend. Tell a friend if you enjoyed this podcast. Please go out. Tell somebody else. If you got any people who you think would love to be on this podcast from the GLIAC or anywhere else in college football, give them a shout and get them on here. But that's all from me, Kobe Manzo. Fellas, thanks for joining me today.
Go Pat, go.
Have a great weekend. Watch some college football.
Go Lions, go Blue.
NFL football, whatever you can go and enjoy. Have a good one.